you want to stick to the areas that you know, because each state really have some things that are different. So, one of the things we learned throughout the years from investment perspective, if you invest in Tennessee, they reset the property tax once every 4 years, not at the purchase. So if you look at that market, you'll see the cycle of every 4 years. You see the sales and the purchases. A lot of times people try to time it because you don't have a reset. As for Tampa, I love personally Tampa. We went there. We saw some properties out there. Why we didn't go specific to Tampa and we went to Jacksonville wasn't a really cause. And then we just hit there, and it was really a period of time that they sold thousands of units. And you have to choose between a unit. I remember a property that the owner wanted to get like 50 a door. Okay. I talked to the other executives. They're like, hey, we toured this. What do you want to offer them? Give them 30. Like, this was the discussion there. And when they sold it, the properties to us, we bought, I think when the first property we bought under 50,000 a door, it was around 40-something thousand.
That's crazy.
Today, maybe my renovation, if I want to do, including plumbing, electric, to gut a unit, cost me probably more.
Yeah.
And and I remember that we saw how much they bought it for. So, okay, we buy it for about 30 to 50,000.
They buy it for 15,000 or something, or 20,000.
The cheapest one was 7.
Yeah.
Imagine buying 7,000 a door for a property with 300 units.
Oh my gosh,
it's crazy. It was insane, and we still felt, because even at the time that we bought it around, I think it was 45 a door maybe, the average rent was about 450 to 500. So it already makes sense, because the rents are there. Because when you looked at South Florida at that time, people were asking 120, 130 a door, but the rents were under 1,000 at that point still. We had a property in Davie that we bought at the end of 2016, like December of 2016. The average rent was under 750. Today, skip forward a little bit, we're getting almost on average $2,000 a unit. So at the time, the base compared to the average rent, it just made more sense.
Are you selling anything? Have you guys sold anything, or you just hold everything?
So the older portfolio, I call it, with all the single-family homes, we sold all of them.
Great.
2021, we sold about 40-something houses in the span of...
You 1031 exchange, or you're not doable, or what's...
Since the investors are Israeli, we can do the 1031 here. No problem.
Here in
the U.S.
Yep.
No problem. But from tax perspective, Israeli authorities see it as a sale. They don't accept the 1031 exchange.
Oh, so it didn't make any sense.
You can take the risk, whether or not they're catching it, but they're very familiar with the American investment and the 1031, so they're looking for those things.
Sure. And
the biggest risk is, let's say that here I sold a property and my taxes were 20%. I go to Israel to tell us, oh, no, you have to pay on that gain 25. I only paid the difference of 5%. That's how it typically works because of the trust between the different countries. When you're looking at 1031 exchange, for example, they'll tell you, all right, you paid their 0, you owe us the 25%. When you will sell eventually here, the U.S. won't tell you, oh, you already paid the 25%,
cool.
don't pay us anything, we're good.
Yeah.
And there's a very big risk of paying double taxes.
Got it. So the risk isn't worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
And, we talked to a lot of the bigger firms, international firms, the KPMGs, the EYs, and they always try to protect us from those things. And for everyone who's doing any investments with every international investor, learn the taxes in the specific country, because maybe here we'll give them an advice and we'll tell them about the 1031, but then they may have a double tax or big issues on their origin country.
Got it. So from that note, the owner, the Nathan family, they're not so incentivized to sell and buy bigger and bigger. Not that they don't want to buy bigger, but every time they sell, they have a tax event.
They have a tax event, but the money was used to buy the bigger properties. Obviously, they bought at a very cheap base point, their portfolio. Sure. And I think what we did with the single-family homes, knowing that we're going to sell them and it's going to take about, 6 to 8 months, we assumed. We went to a bank, we did some sort of refinancing, got some of the money out to already be able to buy the next property that we wanted. And eventually we were able to increase the amount of units, almost triple it, without really bringing too much money, extra money from Israel.
Great.
Just using the profits that were here
From those homes.
From
Yeah.
the
Part
homes,
of that
from
and part of the refinance.
part of the refinance.
And the refinance
financing.
trick still works pretty well, it sounds like, right? You're not paying taxes on that.
You know, we're still in the business of, yes, we do want to sell, but in some cases, and we have some properties that we did a refi, and we even still own some of these properties. So from their investment side, they took all the equity out, and I'm putting aside the cash flow that comes in throughout the years. They took 100% of the equity out, and they still own the property. So from an investor perspective, that's a win all day. You know, he has no risk. He already took the money out.
Infinite returns. Yeah.
Infinite returns. And if we were able to just do refinancing and keep the properties forever, it's always a good thing. I'll correct myself. It's not always a good thing. It depends on the property type. Because if you have an older property and you invested X amount of money in the initial years, if you're going to keep it for another 5 or 10, you need to anticipate you'll have to
Capital
invest some money inside.
Yeah.
And based on your business plan, you have to decide if you're planning on doing it or not. If you're buying more of a core property, something that is brand new, and you don't have to worry about too much deferred maintenance and things like that, if you can refi it forever, just do it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
When it comes to sourcing opportunities, sourcing deals, you mentioned you're in touch with all the brokers. Are you spending a lot of your time? Where are you spending most of your time? Are you spending time on the hunt? Are you spending time managing these assets? What's that look like?
So at the beginning, it was really everything out of everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I always say it's a 24/7. You can't really switch. And I remember the nights when you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning with an idea just because you were thinking about it while you were still sleeping. So it really depended on the time. Because we had times that, if I'm looking at 2021, I think we underwrote almost 100 different properties in the state of Florida. Wow. Almost every day we saw the new opportunities coming in. We would bid on them. We were chasing the deals. Many deals we came out to be in the top 3, and these are deals that sometimes after the first round you have 60 offers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we did compete with the bigger firms, with the institutional funds, and but one things we always did, and it's a very good suggestion to anyone who wants to buy, especially on the multifamily side. Don't make the numbers work. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. People will be like, oh, I think my market rent is going to be XYZ. Great. That's what you believe. This is what you saw on the comps. If the numbers at the end of the day doesn't make sense, don't tell yourself, oh, I'll be able to get another $50 or $100 later on. If it makes no sense, it makes no sense. And a lot of times people try to justify the investment, and it hurts them on the back end because they want to do the purchase from the personal side, from the emotional side.
Or pride, I even fall into this sometimes where, I have my unit count. I've got 37 doors. I want to get past the 50 number. Like that's my next, my next mile marker. And, Larry and I, he was looking at a quadplex for me, and, it's a decent deal. There was some seller financing that might be involved. Larry and I actually have to talk about it after this podcast, but maybe not so decent of a deal without the seller financing. And I think the seller may actually want you to have traditional financing because he'd rather have his money, and we're competing against another offer. So, but my point is that I've got to stop myself from getting so just invested in, okay, let's buy a quadplex. So now I'm at 41 before that's another step closer to 50. It becomes like a pride thing, and it's easy to back your way into negative cash flow or into a problem, especially if there's some of this deferred maintenance or, again, this quadplex we're looking at is, I've seen the pictures inside. It's going to need some work, So it's not just the price; it's the capex, capital expenditure, the amount that you're going to have to put in to fix each of these units up once you turn them over. These are not $2,000 turnaround for a paint and a punch list. This is, new cabinets, maybe new flooring, maybe new everything. Yeah. So yeah.
You know what else I struggle with besides that is you get brokers that are trying to help you out and bring deals to you. And sometimes they're bringing them to you first or pre-market, or they're giving you the heads up or whatever it is. And I genuinely want to do these deals to like, I'm a broker, so maybe you guys don't always appreciate this as much as I do. Like they're trying hard to bring me a deal and they're thinking about me first, and then I'm just like saying no most of the time, right?
Said a different way, if you keep saying no, you worry you're off the list.
Two things. One, I'm like a people pleaser. Two, I don't want to be off the list.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So for that, I can say that, and obviously, I know there are some brokers and there are some deals that we see that depends on the personal relationship we have with the specific broker. We really will know if we saw it first, how long.
Sure.
We'll know all the backstory. But, if I'm looking at the bigger multifamily side, for example, I know there are some, and we know that this is how this side of the business works. A lot of the times, the funds will sell one to another the same property over and over and over and over again, because the funds have to sell it typically after 5 years. So if I'm a fund holder and I know this operator is another fund, I know he's doing a great job. I'll come in, I'll do my thing for the next 5 years, he'll buy it again from me, and so on and so forth. When eventually those things goes to the brokers and coming to the common people's market, probably these guys are already said no. So these are the things we also had to take in consideration. As for getting the offers from the brokers and please them, the only thing you can do and be fair with them is underwrite it. And if you're not interested, explain to them why.
Exactly. Tell them right away, be responsive, and tell them why it's a no or how it could be a yes.
Because, we had some deals that we saw that came through our desks, and when we talked to the broker and we told them, listen, something doesn't work here, sometimes they came up and told the truth and like, yeah, you're not the first one. We're hearing it from him. So we were honest enough to tell them. So either talk to the seller, tell her something is not working, or try a different perspective of it. If multiple people doing the underwriting and gets to the same conclusion, and for us from coming from the accounting world and being CPAs, we always coming from a defensive point of view of looking at things. We don't want to. We hate risk.
Conservative.
We're very conservative in our underwriting. Sometimes we even lost deals over it. Some of them over time may be a good deal, but to that specific point, when we did the underwriting, it didn't make sense
at that moment in time.
Sure. And you have to stand by it.
Right.
Some deals, obviously today I'll drive by some of these properties. I'm like, damn, I could have bought it just at this price.
But if you use that logic, everything. 10 years ago, you could have bought and looked like a superhero. So it doesn't,
But those things at the long run really protects you, as the representative, as the owner, from the management side, from everything. Every deal that we underwrote, we always made sure that we drive around to the neighborhood. We go check what the competitors are getting. Because you can tell me, this is our market rents. Yeah, but you're also giving a $500 concession. So what really is your market rent?
Yeah.
Your competitors are renting for this amount. This is what they're asking.
Or
it's really important to do those things.
First month free, but rent is X more every month going forward.
And again, if we're looking at the different markets, some markets, especially today, requires those concessions. Fine, great, I'm up for it. But let's underwrite it including those concessions and then see what the numbers are. Obviously, if we know and we're anticipating that at some point the cycle with discounts is going to be, you'll have to do less discounts and do less concessions, then we'll take it in consideration as well. But you have to take those things and not look at it things, the market rent is $2,000 because the broker told me. Call the property, see what they're offering.
Yeah. No,
100%.
That makes sense. Let's talk about the property management side of things, because you've spoken to me on a number of occasions about some of the different things that you're doing and that you've implemented in the last few years that maybe some property management companies are doing, but many are not, and that are really differentiating you and bringing home those higher returns for your one main client, but you also have other clients that are invested.
Yeah, we have about 30 investors.
Yeah, 30 investors. So tell us some of those things that you implemented in the last few years that you're really proud of.
So the first thing is really to always keep an open mind. Mm-hmm. When we hire a property manager, we always ask them, hey, what were you doing on previous companies? And be very, we always listen to what happens on the field. If it's talking to the porters, talking to the maintenance guys, talking to residents when we're on site, and obviously talking to our staff. Because based on a situation and a risk or a problem that we have, we're always trying to come up with a solution. A small thing, and I know today more and more people are using it, but still not as many as you would think, is using an alternative for a security deposit. There's so many companies today in the market that give an alternative for the security deposits, and it works both on the benefit of the residents and you as an owner. First of all, for the residents, typically their moving funds will be way less because they're cutting the cost at the beginning. And from the owner side, you probably will be able to get more security for less money from the tenant. And it's an option that if someone is not utilizing it and using it today, it's really a must-go. And it doesn't matter if you have a duplex, a single-family home, or 300-unit complexes, you have to give that other option to the residents.
If you enjoyed this episode of Real Deal Investing, please like and subscribe.